Imagine descending nearly 60 feet beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The water is cold, visibility is poor, the only sounds are your own breathing, and the distant groan of whales somewhere in the darkness. Then, without warning, everything goes black. You feel an enormous pressure squeeze your body. You're certain, you've just been eaten alive. No shark, no submarine, a whale. This isn't a sailor's tale. It actually happened to a commercial lobster diver who survived one of the strangest wildlife encounters ever recorded. But here's the mystery. How can someone survive inside the mouth of one of Earth's largest creatures? And why did the whale spit him back out? The answer is far stranger than fiction. For Michael Packard, the ocean wasn't just where he worked. It was where he'd spent most of his life. Born and raised around the waters of Cape Cod, Michael had spent decades earning a living as a commercial lobster diver. Unlike television treasure hunters, real lobster diving is dangerous. Divers descend to the seafloor carrying heavy equipment. They search among rocks and crevices for valuable lobsters while battling freezing temperatures, unpredictable currents, tangled fishing lines, and limited visibility. One mistake can be fatal. But after years underwater, Michael had learned to trust his instincts. Nothing in all those years prepared him for what waited beneath the waves on June 11, 2021. The morning looked ordinary. Calm seas, good weather, perfect conditions for harvesting lobster. Michael and his longtime boat captain headed toward the fishing grounds near Provincetown. The routine never changed. Check the gear, review the dive, enter the water, descend. At about 45 feet, sunlight began to disappear. At 50 feet, everything became quiet. Only the rhythmic hiss of compressed air filled his ears. He reached the ocean floor and began searching among the rocks. Seconds later, his world exploded. Michael suddenly felt an enormous shove. It wasn't like being hit by another diver or a wave. It felt like a speeding truck had slammed into him underwater. Everything turned black. His body twisted violently. He couldn't tell which direction was up. The pressure increased. His regulator remained in place. But there was something else. Something soft, closing around him. His first thought? A great white shark. Cape Cod waters are famous for them. And Michael believed this was the end. Michael reached out with his hands. He couldn't find teeth. Instead, he felt smooth tissue surrounding him. Everything moved. Everything flexed. He realized he wasn't inside the stomach of some sea monster. He was trapped inside the mouth of a humpback whale. The giant marine mammal had almost certainly been lunging through a dense school of baitfish. Completely unaware that a diver happened to be in its path, Michael estimates he remained trapped for around 30 to 40 terrifying seconds. 30 seconds doesn't sound long, until every second feels like your last. And while Michael fought to stay calm, the whale made a decision that would save his life. One violent movement, and everything changed. Without warning, the darkness vanished. Michael felt the enormous jaws open. A tremendous surge of water rushed past him. Then, he was flying. One moment, he was convinced he was about to die. The next, he was tumbling through open water toward the surface. The whale shook its massive head, and expelled the unexpected passenger it had never intended to catch. As sunlight pierced the water above, Michael kicked with everything he had left. He wasn't thinking about lobster traps. He wasn't thinking about work. He had only one goal: reach the surface, before his strength ran out. On the surface, Michael's longtime crewmate was keeping watch. Commercial diving demands constant communication. Every minute underwater matters. When bubbles suddenly erupted across the surface, the crew knew something was wrong. Then, they saw him. Michael burst from the ocean, gasping for air. He waved frantically. His body was battered. His breathing was ragged. As they pulled him aboard, he struggled to explain what had happened. "I was inside a whale." The words sounded impossible, even unbelievable, but one look at Michael's expression told the crew something extraordinary had happened beneath the Atlantic. The obvious question is, why didn't the whale simply swallow him? The answer lies in one remarkable piece of anatomy. Unlike predators such as sharks or killer whales, humpback whales don't eat large animals. Instead, they feed on tiny fish and krill using enormous comb-like structures called baleen. During a feeding lunge, a humpback opens its mouth to nearly 90 degrees, engulfing an astonishing volume of seawater. Then it forces the water back out, leaving only small prey trapped behind the baleen. But here's the crucial detail. Although a humpback's mouth is enormous, its throat is surprisingly narrow, only about the size of a grapefruit, far too small for an adult human to pass through. In other words, Michael was never headed for the whale's stomach. He had become trapped in a place he was never supposed to be. Marine biologists believe the encounter was an extraordinarily rare accident. Humpback whales often accelerate through dense schools of fish with astonishing speed. Their focus is entirely on their prey. Visibility underwater can be limited, especially when fish scatter in every direction. Michael likely happened to be in exactly the wrong place, at exactly the wrong moment. The whale almost certainly realized something much larger than a fish had entered its mouth. Its natural response? Open wide, and spit the object back out. The event wasn't an attack. It wasn't aggression. It was an accident so unlikely. Many scientists struggle to estimate the odds of it ever happening. Within hours, the story spread around the globe. News organizations from nearly every continent carried the headline: "A diver swallowed by a whale." For many people, it sounded too incredible to believe. Skeptics questioned every detail. Could anyone really survive inside a whale? Marine experts weighed in. Doctors examined Michael's injuries. Witnesses confirmed the timeline. Gradually, the extraordinary story gained credibility. Michael suffered bruising, soft tissue injuries, and a dislocated knee. But remarkably, no broken bones, no life-threatening internal injuries. He walked away from an encounter that should have been impossible. Yet one mystery still remained. How did decades of experience help Michael stay calm inside one of the most terrifying situations imaginable? And what did he later reveal about the moment he believed he was about to die? Those answers may be the most inspiring part of the entire story. Later, when reporters asked Michael what went through his mind, his answer was heartbreakingly human. He believed he was going to die. Inside the whale's mouth, time seemed to stop. Every second stretched into eternity. He wondered if he would ever see his family again. Would anyone know what had happened? Would his body ever be found? Commercial divers accept risk every time they enter the water. Equipment can fail, currents can change, visibility can disappear without warning. But no training manual, no emergency drill, could prepare someone for being engulfed by one of the largest animals on Earth. Yet instead of panicking completely, years of experience took over. He conserved his air, he resisted wasting energy, he stayed as calm as anyone possibly could under unimaginable circumstances. Ironically, that calm may have helped save his life. Others were skeptical. The internet quickly divided into two camps. One side called it a miracle. The other insisted it couldn't have happened. But marine biologists pointed out something important. The details Michael described actually matched how humpback whales feed. These whales don't hunt humans. They don't have massive swallowing throats. And their mouths can accidentally engulf enormous volumes of water during feeding lunges. While the event was extraordinarily rare, experts agreed it was scientifically possible. Not because whales eat people, but because this whale almost certainly never intended to catch one. Sometimes, reality is stranger than fiction. Stories of humans being swallowed by whales have existed for centuries. Some are myths, some are religious allegories, others became legendary sea tales passed from one generation to the next. Michael's experience inevitably revived those stories. But unlike folklore, his encounter unfolded in the modern world. There were witnesses, medical records, a rescue crew, news interviews, and marine scientists willing to examine the evidence. His story reminds us that the ocean still holds moments so extraordinary. They sound like ancient legends, even when they're true. The Atlantic Ocean has shaped human history for thousands of years. It feeds us, connects continents, creates livelihoods, and commands respect. Despite satellites, sonar, and cutting-edge science, much of the ocean remains unexplored. Every year, scientists discover new species, new behaviors, new mysteries. Michael's encounter is a reminder that no matter how advanced we become, nature still has the power to surprise us. Sometimes, the greatest stories aren't invented. They're simply waiting beneath the surface. Michael Packard entered the Atlantic expecting an ordinary day at work. Instead, he experienced something almost no one else ever has. For roughly 30 unforgettable seconds, he found himself trapped inside the mouth of one of Earth's most magnificent animals. And somehow, he lived to tell the tale. His story isn't just about survival. It's about perspective, about respecting the immense power of nature, about remaining calm when everything seems lost, and about remembering that even in an age of smartphones and satellites, the world can still astonish us. If you enjoyed this incredible true story and want more unbelievable tales from history, nature, and the darkest corners of our world, be sure to subscribe to Wild Stories After Dark. Because sometimes, the most unbelievable stories are the ones that really happened.